Hello my friends and welcome to today's episode on Creationificent. In today's episode I will be doing a more in-depth tutorial on how to scan your film, how to use the holders, how to load the film into the holders, how to scan it with the scanner, some options you can change in the Silverfast software. If you don't have the software installed yet, in the link down below you will find the unboxing video I did about the scanner. There is all the installation process in there already, so I didn't want to show the same thing in two videos. Let's get into the video. So what we will need, of course, a microfiber cloth to clean off any fingerprints from the film, and a blower to get any dust off. So the first thing you have to do is of course open our scanner, and we have this white back here that serves to help with scanning documents. Holding it underneath here, just slide it out. We don't need this currently. Just put it to the side. And now we need some film. So we have our film, clean any fingerprints off. And now how to properly load the film into our holder. Of course, we load 35mm negatives like this into these rows here. You can load 2 at a time or just a single one. We'll do an example on a single one. There is no difference to do the same exact thing for the second one as well. So we take this little thing off to load the film. And as we see on the picture here, we should have something like a mirror image of our film when it's loaded. The way you load it is when you take your film and you look on your frame numbers, you would align your film that it's the right way up. That means frame 10, 11, 12, 13. In my case, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You read your frames like this. The way you load your film is so it's loaded in just like this. Like you're holding it up properly. You turn this around and it has to be loaded like this. So that means frame number 1 has to go face down onto this side over here. Put it under the little holders there. Then you take this and you lock your film into place. Make sure all the clips lock in without any problem, just like that. And so now you have your film backwards. Number 1 is face down on this side, just like it shows on the little image there. So when you turn it the opposite way around, you would have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your frame numbers in that order. So you put your film in just like that. So then, of course, you take your blower, you clean it up any dust you can see. Of course, there will always be some dust that you didn't see that will come out on the photos, but in post-processing you can always get rid of the dust. This software does some work with the dust, but it's not perfect, of course, because you have to set the dust size and all that. And of course, the larger particles of dust you set it to, it does degrade your image. So I basically don't use the automatic dust removal tool from the Silverfast. We have frame for 120 film, of course, also, but we won't be using that today. Let me just mark my spot for the film and put this away. We don't need that anymore. And so now let's get up close here to show you how to load this onto the scanner. And on the side of the scanner here, you have different markings A, B, and C. Of course, you can't get it wrong because when you have your frame, you put it on the A side. So when you load it up, it goes onto the A side, just like this. Because if you would turn it the other way around, you would load it to the C part, and that is for slide film. So you want to, for regular 35mm strip negatives, you wanted to load it with the A on this side. So you got your film in the center here. So now we just close the scanner, just like that. And now let's get into our software. So now here in the software, of course you might have a different screen in the center here because I just did an empty scan to clean the screen. So as you see, no matter how clean your glass is, of course clean your glass before scanning as well, you will always get some dust particles on there. And of course an empty glass will always have bigger dust particles than reality with film. So when we have the film loaded, of course, no matter what you have here, the first thing we do is click the pre-scan. The scanner will go through and scan a lower quality image of your film, so you could start with the basic settings. There we go. And as you see, the film doesn't look too great, but what we do now is we're going to find frames, film strip, 35mm holder. We click on that, and as we see, the film frames were found automatically by the software. And now, in case you don't automatically see well your settings, you have to make sure that this is set to transparency mode, because you might have set it to reflective mode. That would require you a different type of scan. So you have to have transparency mode set over here for the pre-scan to see your film exactly. In the second window, you should choose your film type. It's either positive or negative. Like you see on this photo, if you would change it to a positive type film, you would see the negative version because we have loaded negative film. So we choose the negative option, so it turns our film into the positive. This third option, it's the output setting of your image type. So you could either scan RAW to have more editing possibilities, or I just scan it at the 48 to 24-bit option. And then here is another part where we could find all the frames and select the frames. So now the next part is naming. We don't really care what kind of name is over here. That would be just for single frames. Scanning single frames, you can put your name here. But the file path location where you want to scan your images to, this is where you choose them. So you click on this folder, and let's get into desktop, and we want to put a new folder, new scan, for example, create, and open this file. All the images will save to this folder. Next we have the format. The size of the photo we would want to have A4. These are presets. If you want to print A4 photos, that will require you to scan at 3200 ppi. If you would want smaller file sizes, as you see here, the scanning resolution goes down as well. These are presets. That's, I would say, the best option to choose here. So let's say if we would want to do A4 and photo quality at 600 ppi, as you see, we would have 6400 ppi scanning resolution at 104 megabytes. That of course would be the raw file. Now at the beginning here, we can choose TIFF, PSD for Photoshop file, JPEG or PDF. I just scan JPEG. And of course the size of the file over here, it isn't too accurate. That might be the raw file, but when you're scanning into JPEG after compression, the files won't be that big. So we have 6400 ppi at 600 ppi resolution, and A4 size photo. The second option is densitometer. It measures the density between the blacks and the whites. I haven't found a use for it. You could read on it how to use it. I might be just too dumb for this. If you click on a photo over here, it brings up a close-up version of that photo. And of course, since the first scan was a lesser quality, when you bring up a zoomed in version, the scanner will rescan the photo for a better quality, so you can see what you're doing more accurately. Just like that. Of course, I cleaned my film, and as we see, there is always something on the negative, but that's just how life is. If we want to get back to, if we would click on any other photo, the scanner would rescan for each photo to have the most accurate. It's still not the highest detail scan, but for you to have a better view. When we zoom out, we come back to this view. So let's zoom in on this photo here. Let the scanner rescan for a better quality. And now with the picture settings, we can choose our mid-tone values. So we have the effective brightness as it says. If we move it to the right, it makes it brighter. If we move it to the left, it makes it darker. Contrast, we could change the contrast here as well. And we can change the saturation here as well, depending on what we want to achieve. And with this, we can just reset to the standard values. In the next field, in the negatives, we choose the film vendor and type. So this film is Fuji Superia 400 film, and the CCR is the color cast removal. We click on that so we get the color cast off. And here we could set the exposure also, darker, brighter. And the tolerance is just like it says, set orange mask detection tolerance. You could slide it up or slide it down. Let's get it all the way up. And the next setting, unsharp masking. You could have auto sharpness or more auto sharpness, or we could slide it all the way up. This isn't the exact preview for the sharpness because it would require for a very accurate exact scan. As you see over here, it says exact preview disabled, so you don't have a very perfectly accurate preview at this setting. And on the bottom here, you got the scanner status. So if you would want to play with the automatic dust removal, that will be in the ISRD dialog. I had that turned off, but here you choose the mode. Mark it, so it marks the dust on your film, correct it automatically, for it to decide automatically, or just leave the original. You could test different settings. I just found the dust removal option is not satisfactory for me, so I don't use that option. Of course, here you could rotate, for example, clockwise, so we could have a better representation of the photo. Of course, it rotates all the photos, but that's also an option. And here we have many other settings that aren't that useful anymore. Histogram. If I would want to do more heavy editing, I would just scan it a raw photo and go into Photoshop. So when we zoom out, as we see, the settings we made up here have changed because they are only applied to the photo that is marked at the time of making the settings. So when we go back to the first frame that we did the settings on this, here we have all the settings set. Let's get our film here in this first part as well. So when we set all the basic settings that we want to set, let's do auto sharpness more here. And now when we have all the settings we want on the first frame that we want to share to all the other frames, go into frame and we choose the option copy settings to all frames. Just like that. And now in each frame we have the same settings. Of course, the format may vary a little bit from frame to frame because it depends how the frame detected the boundaries of the photo. It isn't too accurate, so if you would want to make it 100% accurate, you would have to zoom in and manually stretch the frames to the boundaries of the photo, but we're not going to be doing this here to save on time. So when you have these settings chosen that you want and you're satisfied with this process, we go into Image, Batch Scan, and again we choose the folder, New Scan, and here we name it. We could delete the number, just leave Image, Start Index at 1, and mark for the space, for there to be a space between the name and the number. And it will automatically number all the photos while it is scanning. So let's start the scan. And down below here you will see your status. Let's see the time where the scanner is starting. It's 4:42 p.m. Let's see how fast it will take it to scan all 6 photos, because now the scanner has to scan each photo individually at these settings. If you would have a second strip here, it would scan through all these photos, then go back and scan again through all these photos. Unless you would set your frame numbers differently, the scanner scans according to the frame numbers here. So if you would have frame 1 here, frame 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the order it would be scanning them in as well. So now let's wait for the scanning to finish. And so we are done scanning at 4:48 p.m. So that was about 6 minutes of scanning 6 photos. So as you see at these settings that we set here, it takes about a minute each for scanning. If you would have a lower resolution and everything, it would scan much faster. So now let's get into our folder, see how our scanning went. We take the new scan folder. We can turn our photo around over here as well. And as you see, the quality of the scan, of course this was taken on a plastic lens camera to add to the effect of Halloween there. We should note that these photos won't be too perfect themselves, but as you see, we got some good scans. As you see on full screen mode, of course you can see by the way they flare, the plastic lenses, but that's not a problem. As you see, our scan is of very good quality. And of course now, with this image, you can do whatever you want with it. If you scan it in RAW, you can take it into Photoshop or any other free software to edit it yourself. Remove any dust particles that you could find. On this image, we don't have much dust particles on there. But you could edit this image however you would like. And if you would scan it RAW in the negative format, so you want to do the conversion yourself, you could look into a video I did. It will be linked down in the description below about how to edit negative scans in a free software called Darktable. It's a very interesting video as well. One of the better watched videos on this channel as well. So if you like this video, a subscribe would mean a lot to me. It shows me I make helpful and interesting content. Thank you for watching, my friends. Take care and see you in the next video. If you have any other questions, feel free to write them down in the comments down below and I will try to answer them as well as I could. Also, if you would like to leave a little donation to support this channel, there is a donation link down in the description below as well. And I invite you to look into channel memberships where you can have early access to every video I make, at least a week in advance, because sometimes I make videos for months ahead. So, for example, today was the 8th of March, as you've seen from the time when I was scanning the negatives, and this video will be posted quite a while from now. So, if you would be a member, you would see this video much sooner. So thank you for watching, my friends. Take care and see you in the next video.